These people would rather go to space and pay people fair rate. They would rather have a $50 million wedding than to make sure that they're employed, than to make sure that people can read. They would rather sue the IRS for $10 billion to make sure people have free lunches. Evil is as evil does. So what is about those people? When those people align themselves with you, it is transactional. It's for what they can.
Have you ever noticed how some of the biggest black legends in Hollywood, like Denzel Washington and Samuel L. Jackson, have never stepped foot inside the Met Gala? Not one time. And it's not like they're gonna openly explain why either. In Hollywood, saying too much can shut doors fast. But DL Hughley? He's clearly not worried about staying in everybody's good graces anymore.
At the expense of everything.
Without even directly saying Met Gala, he basically pulled the curtain back on how these elite circles really move. A lot of black men in entertainment already peeped the pattern, but DL was bold enough to say what most people keep quiet about. According to Hughley, billionaires like Jeff Bezos will throw around $50 million for a flashy wedding spectacle before putting serious money into helping working people or improving education for their own employees. And DL made it clear, you can't constantly speak on civil rights and social justice while standing side by side with billionaires accused of ignoring everyday struggles. And this is where people started connecting the dots even more. The same year Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sanchez became honorary chairs connected to the Met Gala world, protests were happening in New York streets. Critics were calling out wealthy elites controlling major cultural spaces while regular people, especially black communities, still feel overlooked and exploited by the system. Even this year's theme had people raising eyebrows, but mainstream media barely touched the conversation. The public slogan sounded harmless enough, fashion is art, but when people looked deeper into the Metropolitan Museum's official announcement, the wording hit different.
Can we please have a serious conversation about how black women was styled at this year's Met Gala? Because while a dress code might have been menswear, the overall theme was dandyism. And we saw a lot, so let's digest this. Now, dandyism has always been about rebellion, challenging societal norms, and self-expression. But here's the thing. Black women has never been fully allowed to even exist in that narrative.
It talked about focusing on the grand scope of Western art, and a lot of folks immediately connected that to old Roman and Greek elite aesthetics that billionaires like Bezos and Elon Musk seem obsessed with. And come on, people remember when Elon Musk literally changed his bio to Imperator of Mars, like he was some ancient ruler or emperor. That kind of image building didn't go unnoticed online at all. Once you start asking bigger questions, like who really controls the Met Gala, who decides which black celebrities get invited, what designers they wear, and what industry rules they have to follow to stay accepted, the whole thing starts looking way more political than people admit. That's exactly why some black entertainers reportedly keep their distance from those circles altogether. And then there's Anna Wintour, the woman with the sharp bob haircut and those dark sunglasses she almost never removes. She's been the face behind the Met Gala machine for decades, and critics across different media spaces have compared her leadership style to somebody running an untouchable empire. People say the amount of influence she holds in fashion and celebrity culture is honestly wild. I'm not exaggerating either. Even National Review, and that's definitely not known as a woke outlet, once published criticism saying the Met Gala brought back feelings of racial segregation. The article even claimed Anna Wintour treated celebrities like a controlled labor force, comparing parts of the event to an old-school auction atmosphere. Their argument was that even major black stars are expected to follow strict image rules about how they dress, present themselves, and behave in front of cameras. So think about it for a second. Some of the most successful black actors, musicians, and entertainers in the world arrive wearing outfits approved by powerful fashion insiders, pose for endless photos, help generate massive attention, and then leave, while the museum and elite sponsors benefit from millions in fundraising and publicity.
You don't care how people feel about the ritual. It's about, does following the ritual work? Yeah. And so you can fool yourself into thinking there isn't one, but the evidence will be clear.
Meanwhile, critics point out that very little of that money directly reaches struggling Black communities. You've got wealthy audiences watching Black celebrities walk a giant red carpet, often in outfits not even created by Black designers, at events connected to billionaire power circles like Jeff Bezos and other elite figures. Now here's why this conversation especially hits hard for a lot of Black men. One Met Gala theme focused heavily on Black dandyism, celebrating sharp tailoring and Black fashion culture. On the surface, it sounded respectful and classy, but once people looked into the history behind it, the reaction became way more complicated. Black dandyism actually traces back to the Harlem Renaissance, when Black men wore elegant suits and polished styles during a time when they were still denied basic rights and respect in America. Dressing sharp wasn't just about fashion. It was a statement of dignity, pride, and survival. It was Black men saying, "I deserve respect and humanity," in a society that often refused to give them either. That's what gave the style its deeper meaning and emotional weight. Now, fast forward to the Met Gala world. Critics argue that Anna Wintour and the fashion elite took an aesthetic that originally represented resistance, dignity, and survival, then repackaged it into entertainment for wealthy social circles. Black celebrities get styled in dandy looks, while billionaire guests sit back, admire the spectacle, and celebrate themselves as cultured tastemakers. And people also noticed something else. Some Black women at these events were pushed toward heavily masculine-inspired fashion choices too, which sparked even more debate online.
All billionaires are evil. I think most are. I do. I don't think most white men are, all white men are racist. I think most are. And I don't think all men are toxic. I think most are, because I can tell you, you should judge them by their fruit. All the things that are happening that are racist and evil, who's on that Epstein list? Billionaires. Who's protecting them? Billionaires. Why do we not have money for social services? Billionaires. Almost a million people are dead right now because they cut off the funding for USA. Who did that?
And this is where the conversation gets way more serious. Not conspiracy theories, but real moments people publicly reacted to. The same article criticizing Anna Wintour's influence pointed to incidents that many viewers felt crossed the line beyond normal fashion controversy. One example involved Halle Berry wearing an extremely revealing outfit on the Met Gala carpet, which triggered huge reactions online because many people felt it disrespected her legacy as the first Black woman to win the Oscar for Best Actress. Another controversy exploded when K-pop star Lisa appeared wearing clothing that reportedly included imagery connected to Rosa Parks in a very questionable placement. Social media instantly went into chaos over it. People started asking, how do decisions like this even get approved at one of the biggest fashion events in the world? Did organizers honestly think these choices would be celebrated? Or were celebrities pressured to go along with ideas they personally may not have fully supported? That's where discussions about power and influence inside celebrity culture started heating up fast. Because at that level, a lot of people believe there's pressure to stay agreeable if you want continued access, invitations, magazine covers, partnerships, and major movie opportunities. Nobody wants to be labeled difficult in industries where relationships and reputation can change everything overnight. The entertainment and fashion world is smaller than people think, and Anna Wintour has been sitting near the top of that power structure for decades. So critics ask an uncomfortable question. What do you call it when celebrities are told exactly what to wear, how to present themselves, and then sent out in front of wealthy elite crowds for public approval? Some people see it as harmless fashion culture. Others view it as something much deeper, almost like a social ritual built around status, influence, and control. Now, when it comes to Black men, the expectations can look different, but the pressure is still there. They may not be pushed into the same kinds of controversial fashion moments as Black women, but they're still expected to play the role. Show up polished, smile for cameras, stay agreeable, and avoid saying anything that disrupts the atmosphere. And the second a Black man appears uncomfortable, outspoken, or too honest, critics say he risks getting labeled angry, difficult, or hard to work with. That reputation can follow somebody fast in Hollywood and fashion circles. So a lot of people believe some stars simply choose not to participate at all. It's not always about whether they got invited, Sometimes it's about deciding the environment just isn't worth it. That's why people started paying attention to who isn't showing up in those rooms. Denzel Washington, Samuel L. Jackson, Terrence Howard.
It's been such a fun and meaningful experience. And when Anna called me and said, do you want to co-chair and also be the sponsors of the Met, I was so honored.
Morgan Freeman, Forrest Whitaker. These are legendary Oscar-winning actors with massive influence and respect, yet they've largely stayed away from the Met Gala spotlight. Maybe some attended privately once, maybe some declined invitations. Nobody fully knows, but after a while, people noticed the pattern and started asking questions. A lot of successful black men in entertainment seem to keep their distance from the Met Gala, and what's interesting is how rarely they speak about it publicly. You almost never hear major actors or musicians giving interviews saying, "I'm boycotting the Met Gala," because openly criticizing powerful industry spaces can create serious backlash in Hollywood circles. Instead, many just quietly stay away and let their absence speak for itself. Some critics have gone as far as describing the event as a performance space where wealthy elites benefit from black culture, style, and celebrity influence without necessarily supporting the communities connected to that culture in meaningful ways. That comparison makes a lot of people uncomfortable, and debates around it get heated fast online. Of course, others push back hard against that idea. They say the Met Gala is simply a fashion fundraiser, not some deeper social statement. They argue people are overanalyzing a celebrity event that's mainly about art, luxury, and publicity. But critics keep pointing to the people behind the scenes and asking bigger questions about power, money, and influence. That's where Jeff Bezos enters the conversation again. The Amazon founder has faced years of criticism over labor conditions, union disputes, and reports about worker treatment inside company warehouses. So when someone with that reputation becomes connected to elite cultural spaces celebrating black creativity and fashion, people naturally start debating whether it's genuine appreciation or simply branding and image building for the ultra-rich. That's also why DL Hughley's comments caught so much attention. His argument wasn't just about one event, it was about how powerful people sometimes embrace the style, energy, and cultural influence of black communities, while critics feel the actual communities themselves don't always receive equal support or investment in return. And in these conversations, black celebrities often end up at the center of it all, becoming the faces that give events cultural relevance, media attention, and social credibility in the eyes of wealthy audiences. And the deeper people look into it, the more questions start popping up. Because if the Met Gala is really about celebrating creativity and culture, then why do so many conversations afterward focus more on billionaire guests, exclusive guest lists, and viral photo moments instead of the actual communities connected to the styles being showcased? A lot of critics say the event creates this illusion of inclusion while still being controlled by a tiny circle of ultra-wealthy insiders.
What's going on, Jeff? Remember me, the fired Amazon worker that you signed off on the smear campaign? Now you're gonna have the Met Gala where you're gonna be surrounded by all these elites and billionaires and A-listers, when you have poverty right outside on the streets.
You'll see black artists, athletes, and entertainers heavily featured in headlines and social media clips. But behind the scenes, the real power, the money, the sponsorships, the influence, still sits with fashion executives, corporations, and billionaire donors. And people started noticing another pattern too. The celebrities who usually get praised the most at these events are often the ones willing to fully play along with the spectacle. The louder, more unpredictable, or more outspoken stars. They slowly stop getting centered in those spaces. That's why some fans believe certain celebrities choose peace over participation and simply avoid the entire scene altogether. Even online, reactions have shifted over the years. More viewers are starting to ask whether these luxury events truly celebrate black culture or just package it into something expensive and marketable for elite audiences. Because there's a huge difference between respecting a culture and using its image to boost status, publicity, and social clout. And once people started connecting all these dots, the billionaire influence, the carefully controlled image-making, the silence from certain legendary black actors, the Met Gala stopped looking like just a party to a lot of observers. For some, it started looking more like a highly curated power event where culture, celebrity, money, and influence all get mixed together behind the scenes. And that's the part critics keep coming back to. The money keeps flowing upward, but many people feel the real power never gets shared. Every year, the same billionaire names appear at the center of the spotlight, the same elite circles dominate the headlines, and the same celebrity faces walk the carpet while the public gets told it represents progress. DL Hughley looked at that entire system and decided to say what a lot of people in entertainment only whisper behind closed doors. And to be clear, people aren't calling the Met Gala some hidden conspiracy operating in secret. The bigger debate is about influence, image, and who benefits the most from these cultural moments. Critics argue the event is controlled by powerful fashion insiders and wealthy donors, while celebrities help create the energy, attention, and cultural relevance that keep the machine growing every single year. That's also why some observers believe certain black actors and entertainers quietly stepped away from the whole scene a long time ago. Not necessarily because they weren't welcomed, but because they may not have wanted to participate in an environment they felt uncomfortable with or disconnected from. And once people started noticing which legendary names rarely appeared at the Met Gala, the conversation got even louder online. So, if you really want to understand why this debate keeps growing, some people say don't just focus on the celebrities walking the red carpet. Pay attention to the ones who consistently stay away from it. That's where a lot of the speculation and curiosity really begins. But now, I want to hear what you think. Why do you think stars like Denzel Washington and other legendary black actors rarely attend the Met Gala? And do you agree with DL Hughley's criticism of billionaire influence in celebrity culture? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with somebody who would definitely have something to say about this conversation.